this is all.
No, it must be painful for you to recount, the prior to your coming, the Nazi experience, but I'm very interested to sort of get as much as the social and economic and political aspects of your life there.
As I said to you, I was rather lucky. I mean, as far as economics is concerned, and as far as being accepted as a child analyst and as an analyst, with the help of Eichhorn and also.
At what point did you have to leave? Yes.
But I was very much more aware than my husband how we are marking time. And my husband had an uncle in the Sudetenland, Sudeten, Germany, which was immediately, adjacent or Czechoslovakia. And I had no known relatives. I had no relatives in America, but my husband had, and through this uncle in the Sudetenland near Czechoslovakia, in Karlsbad it was. I wanted to get ourselves an affidavit very, very early, much before that so-called Umbruch, which is Umbruch, that is the Nazis taking over. And he said, oh, the Nazis are in their last gasps at the Sudeten, Germany. I didn't believe it. But I could not get an affidavit. And then, when the Nazi, when there was it was very interesting. Beni Ferenci, the outstanding Hungarian sculptor, who was a friend of mine and also whose children had me as a pediatrician. Just that night before Schuschnigg went to Berchtesgaden to meet Hitler, I think it was the 23rd of March or something of that sort. He at that night has finished my portrait, which is over there, not this, the sculpture. And my family came, I think I confused that now, around that time an uncle of mine died, and my parents came up from Sopron, from Oldenburg, and it was the time when all of a sudden, instead of having what one expected, general election, Hitler took over overnight. And I remember the last few days before that occurred, meeting Eichhorn ever so often, because not only I but several other people were very insecure and very, very worried, and he reassuring that Nazis will not take over and so on and so forth. Whether he really believed it himself or wanted to believe it, I do not know. But I remember that I was more often together with him than before, and that after the Nazis took over, of course, there was a very, very great panic among many of the, not so much the analysts maybe, who really behaved quite analyzed, I must say, and who really at that point functioned better than the most efficient Freemason group, you know. They really placed everybody somewhere, and people who didn't have affidavits got affidavits. I remember even at that point they wanted to, my husband had no opportunity to help at all, and of course I was very much, I mean, I needed to find a place for the two of us, and even at that point there was a question whether we should not be assigned to, I remember for a few minutes it was that question, to South Africa. And it was again Greta Bibring who was very much against it, that we should be banned to South Africa. And
who made such decisions? The analytic group?
they wanted to help as much as possible,
Yeah,
and
so
was
they
more,
had
you
some
know,
contact,
we
yeah.
had a conference, and I remember at Anna Freud's house.
Mhm.
At the Freud's house, I mean, of course, with Anna Freud and the Bibrings and the Hartmanns, and I don't know whether the Hartmanns were there. It had to be
decide what
decided,
to
you
do.
know,
Mhm.
and
Where they could get visas.
yeah. And there was again, I was lucky because we did not have an affidavit, and we had to leave Vienna, and it was the more difficult for me because my husband, even though he was only the manager of that factory, and had no money in the bank, you know, because everything was in that factory, I had from my savings had to pay the so-called Reichsfluchtsteuer for the company's employees.
What is the Reichsstücks?
Nobody could go away who did not pay the taxes
Mhm.
of not only himself, but also whoever might be lost for the economy of the Nazi regime.
So you really had to ransom your way out.
All of us. And my husband and I each had could take out 1.5 pounds. That was all. We had to, I was lucky, I forgot to finish the thought. I had among my analysans was the niece of Lady Leontine Sesson, the widow of the Viceroy of India, as you know. And she sent a letter for my husband and myself to the Home Office, to the Viennese Home Office of the British legation or British embassy, that Dr. Paul Mahler and his wife, she herewith invites as her private guests, pending arrangements to go to the United States. And with that letter, we went to the to the British consulate, and received, instead of what we asked for 3 months stay in Britain, 6 months stay in Britain, and what we could do, what was allowed to do, was a passage from Britain to New York. That we could pay from our Austrian money, but otherwise no jewelry could be taken out, nothing. And I had also a very tragic comic encounter with one of my patients. Of course, the patients have reacted according to whether they were Jewish or not Jewish, and I knew that one of my patients, who was a non-Jew and was employed in a factory, in a like group, would come, would sit up, and I knew what he will say. That he will say, and rightly so, that he could not possibly come for analysis, that he is, as so many other, especially people in such positions, were followed, were watched, and this, also it was, rumors went on every day. I mean, that one was put to jail, and this one was put to jail, doctors and lawyers and everybody. Eichhorn would call, for example, some days and would say, "Don't you let Paul out, because the police station on your district, which was Josefstadt, the 8th district, I don't even know now. Yes, the 8th district, has a quota of I don't know how many Jews to be rounded up." And then I had my battle with my husband, because he wanted to help his uncle, and he did not want to stay home, and so on. Also, from way back, some crazy, not really crazy, but some mother of former child patients of mine asked me whether I wanted for my Mutterberatungsfabrik, for my well baby clinic, baby clothes, which she had from her children. So I said, fine, sure. And she brought me, many years before the Nazi, a whole lot of baby clothes, but in between was a revolver. And I was thought of that revolver, I kept away from that revolver. All of a sudden, when I heard that the Hartmanns had search in their apartment, and that the Wiebrings had search in their apartment, the Menchens had search in their apartment, I thought of that revolver. We went around to the...
Why was the revolver? How puzzling of the baby's clothes. I mean, why did she
no
send
idea.
it to?
That was the former, the first wife of this very Beni Ferenczi who went to Russia. I don't know. I don't
Just
know.
arrived with the things.
Just arrived with the things. And so when this analysis of mine came, we went to my husband. I didn't even think of this before, and we went for long walks on Sundays, on that Sunday, and I remember we could not. We were so paranoid at that point that we could not get rid of that revolver. So I thought when I thought of this colleague of this patient of mine being in a ammunition factory and so on, he certainly has a license. So the following happened. He sat down and told me terrible stories about which I knew anyway, what happens to Jewish people or people whom the Nazis didn't approve of, and asked me he would do anything for me. Could I please do him the favor to tell him what to do for me, and so on and so forth. And then all of a sudden I thought to myself, well, Mr. So-and-so certainly has a firearms license. So I said, you certainly have a firearms license. And I told him that I happen to have a revolver and have no rifle permit, no firearm license. He said, of course. I handed him he was in analysis for impotence. I handed him the revolver, and he said, this is a beautiful piece, but a small gadget is missing. It does not work, but it's a small man. And so the revolver the revolver problem was solved. But and I hope that he got cured anyway by somebody else, and certainly the revolver was he could easily repair.
But you chose to come to America, and that was your desire to come here rather than to stay in Britain or anywhere else.
The British were very nice to us, but they picked their people. They picked the people whom they could use. Mm-hmm. And I do think that, and I did not really, but my husband didn't have any possibility there.
So America was the sensible place.
Yeah.
What about your family? Your sister, was she still living in Hungary at the time, or she had come to Vienna?
No, my sister lived in Vienna much longer than I did.
Well, she came, she was in Vienna.
She was in Vienna.
And she remained in Vienna?
She remained in Vienna, yes.
Does she have a family there, or she was just alone?
She had her men there. Mm-hmm. And her whole profession. I mean, she was an art psychologist, and she didn't dream of to go away from Vienna.
She didn't think of leaving Vienna?
No, never.
And at that point, you didn't feel you had to stay and protect her anymore?
Oh no, we were not very close at that. No, we were not close. After my father said that, and after my sister was rather petty about at one time my father had to help me to get an apartment in Vienna, and I always was overboard. I mean, that was one of the first things that came out in my analysis, even with Helene Deutsch, that I asked far too little from my father. After she then interfered with this, there was a rather cooling of our relationship forever, I'm afraid. She still depended very much on me, and I have helped her until the last minute. She went through very, very great reverses because she had to go to. She was on clandestinely in Budapest, and was, so to say, adopted by very good friends of hers, Professor Takács and his wife have so to say sworn that she was a sister of Mrs. Takács. and she somehow
Escape.
escaped, but with very great scars. And she went back to Vienna very, and there very great disappointments awaited of her, and she never was. And she really became very. She really had a nervous breakdowns, and which I did not know.
And she pursued a musical career throughout
Yeah,
her life.
yeah. Well, what else can I tell you?
And your parents remained in Hungary?
My mother wanted very badly to emigrate and come after us, and in fact, very soon after we arrived, in fact, in 41. When was the war? When did the war start?
Early 40s.
Yeah, but I had through the and I still am. That is my favorite as a Hayas. Through Hayas, I sent my father, who was president of the Jewish community of Sopron. He was also the first mental health officer, not mental health, public health officer of that town, and was not a very religious Jew at all, but was a very proud Jew, you know, and he was one of the few accepted in the bigger society, which was Geza Roheim would have been able to tell you more about it. It was a very strange and exceptional grouping that was in Hungary, you know. There were the accepted Jews and the non-accepted Jews, and the Jewish anti-Semitism in Hungary, I am afraid, was rampant. Therefore, no, we were very accepted Jews, and my father was also had all kinds of government honors and so on. He was therefore able to build an unbelievably beautiful old age home for Jews in Sopron, in my native town, almost single-handedly, in even with government grant, with government matching all the contributions that because he never needed anything for himself, you know. I think that was even now there is a plaque there which says this is a home which was erected under the leadership of Dr. Gustav Schönberger and so on. Now, my father died a month before Hungary was taken over by the Nazis, fortunately. My mother was sent messages by the then burgomaster, the mayor of the town, to please go over the border with my father's nurse. She couldn't do it. She did not believe that she was always a very good, obedient citizen. She absolutely couldn't believe it, that she has to. And well, this I all did not know. But anyway, there was a document sent. There was an immigration to even invitation to Israel sent to Hungary for my father and my mother, much before my father died, but it was not delivered. It was in that little town, you know. If it would have been in Budapest, it would have, and if my father was transportable, I don't know whether he was, they would have been saved, you know. Much later, my sister has established that this invitation was sitting there in Budapest. So this is the story of my...
So she was left, she remained then in your town.
My mother was murdered.
Yes,
and
in
was
your
taken to Auschwitz and murdered, which I would say almost fortunately learned from Beni Ferenci, the sculptor, who wrote to me a very, very wonderful letter in which he very first told me about the positive things and then told me about my mother.
Yes, there was no communication possible.
But I was
in
no
those days.
communication possible with my sister either.
So you didn't
No,
know where she
he
was
got-
either?
Oh, I knew exactly, and I had established with a soldier through all kinds of detective work very early, not only communication with her, but sent her unbelievable lightweight clothing and everything, you know. But it was. I also had Mrs. Blows, Martha Blows, was the one who was really, I never will be able to thank her enough. She established some communications via her parents, via her relatives in Sweden, to once in a while hear about my parents, but in the last year it was not possible.
And then you went to England then for several months, I gather.
Oh, Paul and I went to London in May 38 and stayed there till the beginning of October 38. We arrived here, I think, on the 18th of October with the Queen Mary.
Oh, how did you manage in England? Did you have friends
In
that
England,
stayed?
in England, we had I gave Rorschachs.
Or you were able to
We
do
were
somewhere?
so not the guests of Lady Sassoon as she wrote it in the letter, but we were the guests of the British Psychoanalytic Society, both of us. And we lived in Mrs. Abraham's pension in Greencroft Gardens.
Mrs.
and-
Carl Abrahams.
Mrs. Carl Abraham. My days and some of my husband's days were spent going to the Woburn House and trying to rescue people and getting them out from the Vienna Holocaust. You know, that was our main occupation. But besides that, I tried to earn my living and not be entirely dependent on the generosity of the British Psychoanalytic Society, and gave Rorschachs. I had some of the analysts' children in treatment, and it is very interesting to me, and I still think of it with great warmth and kind of gratitude to a little patient of a colleague who came from Germany and whose symptom was that he could not understand and did not want to speak German. You know, in the English school, he had to overcorrect his not being German, and I, with my broken English and then really very, very sparse English, he was so sweet. When we were together, he of course taught me English.
Slang.
And not slang.
No, I'm teasing you because you
was,
were very eager to learn slang in America.
He was, yes, because the children spoke in
know.
slang, and I remember the stutterer whom I had who wrote on a wrote in his cahier, in his they all had a copybook, and he wrote something that he made his condition was that he can staple it together, so that I won't read it as long as he is with me. So he wrote, Dr. Mahler is a dope, and I had no idea what that meant. I called up one of my American colleagues, and she instructed me that he thought that I wasn't smart, that I was the opposite of dope, namely dumb. Yeah.
I remember you
anyway,
wanting to learn the slang. Right?
Yes, but Heino has really taught me English, and one of his main complaints was that his mother took the words away from him. And I was invited, of course it wasn't an analysis, I was invited at his mother's house, and somebody asked a question of that then maybe 8-year-old boy, and the mother answered for him, and he turned to me and said, "You see now what I mean?"
So you had some patients sent to you in London
I
from
had,
colleagues.
this was
for
also
therapy,
rather reciprocal, and there were at least 3 of my patients in London, of my former patients,
from Vienna,
whom I have treated in Greencroft Gardens through the courtesy of one of my colleagues in her office, and I earned quite handsomely.
tremendous disruptions.
Yes. One of my child patients is still in contact with me. One of the patients whom I still saw there was that very niece of Lady Sassoon, who helped us.
Yes.
Her I saw, and one other former Viennese patient, whose parents also came.
So you weren't totally dependent on the British
No,
psychoanalytic.
I was.
But your husband
very,
probably had
very-
nothing he could do in
My
in
husband
London.
studied Rorschachs and also studied English.
And then you
And we were
left.
very often
You
invited also at Melanie Klein's house, I remember. And the Chris's were there, and the Bibrings were there. Hartmanns were not there yet. And
Hartmann never really considered himself Jewish. He is, I don't know, 1/8.
Hartmann did not
1/8 or
at
1/16.
all. Hartmann did not at all emphasize either Jewishness or not Jewishness, and his love for his Jewish wife speaks for itself.
Yeah.
you know.
Well, actually, he is very distantly Jewish.
Is
A
it?
tiny
Is he?
percentage.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
he said.
Hmm?
But so small
I
that it
loved
didn't
him.
matter.
I loved him. I loved him and I loved Bach. Much later.
No, Bach
Mm,
here.
Bach
Oh, did
here.
you know him in Hungary?
Oh, in Hungary I didn't like him at all. I knew him very little. He was very young. He was very much younger than. He was 65 when he died just a
Same.
few weeks ago. And so this is
Now we get to your journey to New York.
yes. Well, also did I tell you that how generous Jones was when he finally heard about
No.
it, that our sailing was a fact. He asked me to his Harley Street office and he asked me, Dr. Mahler, how much money do you have to disembark in the United States? And I said, I think I had 50, maybe 10 or
Oh.
15 pounds. And he said, Dr. Mahler, you cannot disembark in the United States with that money. I said, we have our passage on the Queen Mary, which is perfectly all right. And in the United States, my cousin, who has money in Switzerland, will give us a loan which is not bound to any repayment or any.
You
It's
had
not
your
to
cousin?
worry. Hmm?
You had a
My
cousin.
So he said, but you cannot disembark in the United States with 50 pounds and you will accept, I don't know what it was. It was about, I think, worth $2,000 or $2,500. I don't know how many pounds that was. You will accept that as a loan from the British psychoanalytic and you will not disembark with 15 pounds. And only when I arrived here did I see how right he was. Not that I needed it for living, but it looked very, very bad if you arrived in the United States.
Well, actually, unless you got your loan, you certainly needed it for living, to get established.
It wasn't for that. I mean, it was because
Just
one
so-
does
I
not,
see.
one does not come
With no
as
money.
a proletariat.
Mm.
That is
It's
what
better
he knew.
not.
And
It's
I,
better
yes,
not.
yes.
And you got established then on that Central Park West apartment that you
We
had?
were at first our colleagues here have taken a room for us in the Hotel Paris, I remember, which was at that point not yet as
Somewhere in
run
the
down,
90s,
you know? And then I made a terrible faux pas not knowing the situation. Again, like with the 15 pounds or the 5 pounds, not arriving in the United. I took a brand new brownstone. I remember sampling there and had all kinds of dreams. My patients had all kinds of dreams, being terribly, on the one hand condescending, on the other hand pitying.
Pity.
And I had no idea why. It was newly furnished. It was beautiful maple. Our furniture did not arrive yet, you know.
You sent it from Vienna. That's
Yeah,
right, your
yeah.
Baedeker.
So it was in the 97th Street, just one street above
Too
the
far.
above. You know, that was new to me, and to my husband too. And then, of course, it was run down in no time. Then, of course, Paul went to look for apartments, and we arrived at 336 Central Park West. That was our first apartment. And it was in a very, very fancy house. And then I knew already better. I mean, I would have saved on food, let us say. Not that we would starve, rather than on dwelling on.
Well,
Because
how
I
did
didn't
you
want-
get established?
I wanted to. I did not want us to get melancholy or down, emotionally, because that wouldn't have been good for us. Established, well, the New York psychoanalytic, especially Dr. Rado, was not too happy with us. He told me after the meetings we went to. Federn was already here, whom he heartily hated, and I don't blame him for that. And of course we were Hungarians together,
Yes.
but he didn't make any exception with me. He made only an exception with Jeppels and with Jacobson. All the others were asked by Dr. Stern, the old Stern,
It's Max.
not Marx. For God's sake, not Marx. I don't know
Which
what his
Stern?
name was. He was a buddy of Cardinal and Rado and so on.
Stern?
Stern was his name. I don't know what his first name was. I can get it for you, or you can get it, I'm sure. At the time when the refugees came, asked just that. Rado was obviously behind it. Obendorf was behind it too. And they gave us a lecture that it is not good for us to stay in New York because they have too many analysts. We should go to Buffalo and should, or to Schenectady. Pioneer, we didn't know English, but we should go anywhere. I know Paul got a job, and QB was so sweet. And QB asked me for luncheon, and QB wanted to offer money, that to establish ourselves. I said, Dr. QB, I don't need anything, thank you very much. Then when I told him that my husband got a job in Elizabeth, he asked me for lunch again and said, Dr. Mahler, that would be the best possible solution, that you go to Elizabeth. It is,
Anywhere but New York.
it is only a few minutes from New York, I said, but I can't